Hello, welcome to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, where it is all about helping amazing physicians just like you create a wealthy life free from burnout and with the financial security to practice medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Elisa Zhang. Hello, and welcome back to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. I want to talk today about the book, Your Money or Your Life by Joseph Dominguez and Vicki Robin. I've read this book twice, but it's been a few years since I last read it. Last time I read it was sometime during the pandemic. However, the core idea has been coming up for me again and again in a very visceral way recently. The basic premise of the book is simple, but maybe a little uncomfortable for some people. Money isn't just money. Money represents your life energy, the time, effort, stress, and attention you trade for it. And lately, I've been questioning whether this exchange rate makes sense for me as a physician. Recently, I was reviewing Medicare reimbursement rates for CPT codes in my specialty of ophthalmology and oculoplastics. Things like cataract surgery, blepharoplasty, ptosis repair, and even standard clinic visits. One example really struck with me. A 99214 for an office visit, which is a level 4 office visit, and what you would bill if you spent 30 minutes with a patient, if you're billing by time, reimburses $128.33 in Indiana. Basically, this means that Medicare is valuing physician clinic time at $256 an hour, roughly. And that's the gross. Gross is a key word here. That money has to cover the office rent or lease, staff salaries, benefits, supplies, malpractice insurance, billing, EMR, everything. What the physician actually takes home is only a fraction of that. Not that long ago, I got a quote from a plumber for some work in my house. They wouldn't even give me an actual number. They told me the rate was $250 an hour, plus materials, plus additional fees. Let's look at the business of a plumber. They come to your house, so they don't need to maintain a large office, much less a medical office. They charge for travel. While they do carry insurance, the cost of their insurance is a fraction of the cost of what physicians pay for malpractice insurance. They also get paid directly from the customer, so they don't need office staff specifically to fight with insurance for payment. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that plumbers don't deserve to be paid well. They absolutely do. Skilled labor deserves fair compensation. And I know they have other costs like their tools and equipment, but we physicians also have these kind of costs. When you put these numbers side by side, it's hard not to feel like all those years of training to do what we as physicians do, especially insurance-based care, is profoundly undervalued. Especially when you think that people are actually willing to pay cash for their plumbers, but they're often unwilling to pay the copay for their office visit. The difference between insurance reimbursement and cash pay, especially in cosmetic surgery, is enormous. I once heard an oculoplastic surgeon say that their patient mix was 50-50 insurance-based and cosmetic, but the income from their cosmetic work was 9 times that of the income from the insurance side. 9 times. And that cosmetic revenue is what keeps the entire practice running to allow the practice to actually be able to take care of those insurance-based patients. It starts to feel like insurance-based work, the work that restores vision, improves comfort, and treats functional problems, is almost charity. And that's a strange thing to sit with, because helping people to see better, feel better, function better, it's meaningful work. I still enjoy surgery. I still find it very satisfying. But when I look at insurance reimbursement through the lens of life energy, I honestly don't know if it feels worth the trade. At the same time, I've been reflecting a lot about how much I really need or want to spend when I stop working, at least working as a physician. After all, spending is what dictates when you're truly financially free and can stop working for income. Travel is a huge passion of mine. I've been to over 60 countries, all 7 continents, and all 50 states. And there's so much more of the world I still want to see. But travel costs money, And I spend a lot of money on travel. It's the largest line item on my spending plan, other than the money I put towards investments and contributions to retirement plans. And I don't need luxury travel. As I've gotten older, I have upgraded my comfort a bit, nicer hotels, occasional high-end dining, and things like renting cars instead of relying on public transportation. And I'll spend money to save time. I'll buy the ticket for the faster bullet train instead of the less expensive local train ticket. I'll also pay more for convenience. Because at this point in my life, my time feels more precious than my money. I also spend for experiences that don't come cheap, like taking a helicopter to go up to a glacier to do ice climbing, which I did in New Zealand. To me, those experiences are what money is for those joys in life. On the flip side, I've also been thinking about how many things I deeply enjoy that cost very little. Hiking costs almost nothing. Maybe there's an entrance fee to the park that you want to hike in. Since my husband and I already own kayaks, going kayaking for us has minimal cost. Spending time drawing only involves the cost of art supplies, which paper and charcoal are really quite inexpensive. Gardening from seeds is low cost and deeply satisfying to watch plants emerge and then go on to flower later on in the year. I also love reading books and listening to audiobooks from the library, which is a great free resource. I have a lifetime Rosetta Stone subscription, so learning languages is essentially free as well. Yes, I have to have a computer and pay for electricity and an internet connection, but these are basic living standards that I don't think I would ever want to go without at this point in my life. That lifetime subscription currently costs $179. So it's really available to any physician, and I think really a fantastic deal. Since I already own a piano, playing piano is another joy that really costs nothing. And then there's spending time with friends or loved ones, which includes some of the most meaningful moments in my life. And that doesn't have to cost much at all. So when I step back, I realize that a fulfilling life doesn't necessarily require as much money as maybe I once set as my retirement goal. Maybe I really could look at traveling less and spending more of my time doing these other things that really don't cost nearly as much as the money I spend for traveling. And now I'm going to get more vulnerable and talk about the fear of stepping away from working as a physician. What scares me the most about not working as a physician is that it's not easy to go back. If you stop operating for 2 years, it's very hard to get credentialed again at a surgery center. For me, doing surgery is really the core element of what I love as practicing as a physician. I wouldn't want to practice necessarily without doing any surgery. Being a physician isn't a job that you can casually step away from and return later. Yes, you can take breaks. You can take off a month or a year, or maybe just up to 2 years. But after that, you really need to get back into seeing patients, doing surgery, or doing whatever you do as your work as a physician. There's also the reality of market risk. If there's a major turndown early in retirement, the sequence of returns risk could really change my financial picture. With all the things happening in the world right now, there does feel like there's a lot of uncertainty. So this isn't about impulsively walking away. It's about sitting with uncertainty. It's also about thinking about my life, which right now I would say I'm living what I would call a good enough life. In some ways, my actual current life is a great life, though perhaps not a sustainable one. But if I'm really honest with myself, I wonder if my current ideal life would include working as a physician, at least in the current healthcare environment. I admit, I wonder if I worked for my own practice, how much that would change things. Because it's not like I'm burnt out from medicine. And I certainly don't hate medicine. I still really enjoy performing surgery. But it feels like there are so many trade-offs. There's the administrative burden, working with insurance companies. I've already talked about the reimbursement. There's so much regulation when it comes to medicine. And all comes down to a feel of a lack of control. These things summed up together increasingly feel like it may not be worth my life energy anymore. And that's the heart of your money or your life. Not, should I quit, but is this exchange still aligned with the life I want? So I want to leave you with a few questions and not answers. What are you trading your life energy for right now? Which parts of your spending truly bring you joy? And which parts are just habit, expectation, or identity? Where might you be spending less if it meant working less, or stopping sooner, or having more autonomy? There's no right answer, but there is power in asking the question. Because your money isn't separate from your life. It is your life, stored in another form. And once you see that clearly, it's hard to unsee it. I hope this podcast episode helps you to think about your life in the form of giving up your life energy and trading it for money. I know that many of you are not in a position to think about walking away from working for medicine right now, but you are in a position to potentially adjust your current spending so that you have more to invest for financial freedom. This could even look like making big changes, like downsizing the house that you live in, changing the kind of cars you drive, changing the kind of vacations you take. What are you willing to stop spending on now so that you can have freedom and autonomy sooner? And maybe you're happy with the exchange right now, and that's great. But taking the time to really think about that, I think, can truly be meaningful. I hope you have a great week, and I'll be back next week with another episode of the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and colleagues. And now for the disclaimer. I am not a certified financial planner, accountant, or attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as professional investment, tax, or legal advice. This show is primarily for your education and entertainment. I am a physician, but I'm probably not your physician. So if you need any medical advice, please contact your own physician. Thank you.